Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode, Season 4, Episode 6 of Doom Patrol. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, the teams are divided into different pairings. Obviously, Jane and Cliff are the only ones at Doom Manor, because I love how everything got resolved off screen. It's like, wait, I thought I had this crazy dream I was a baby. It's like, no, you were, but that kind of all ended up getting undone. He's like, if it makes you feel better, I was kind of a douchebag when I left you behind, but I didn't make it that far before I think he said I turned back into a baby and I smashed into a ditch. It wouldn't have been the same thing, but when I think about Cliff as a baby, it makes me think of that WandaVision opening, the Family Ties opening that has him as a baby, as Vision as a baby. It kind of reminds me of, that's what immediately pops in my head. But it's he was a teenager. He was still just the same robot body, just wearing teenage clothes and stuff like that. So, but Jane's longevity was taken by, was it Bunby, whatever the little rabbit dude that works with Kip is. He took her longevity. In Kip's mind, it's well, we were protecting it because we couldn't trust you to keep it because, hey, you already lost Rita's longevity and you guys are the biggest screws ups. I think arguably you could make the argument maybe you're the biggest screw ups in the DC universe. I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in DC to know whether or not there's even bigger screw ups. It's well, you have the legends, but obviously I'm talking specific to TV legends. I don't know if the comic book legends or those characters are even like that. Or what about Kite Man? Is he a big screw up in the comic books? It's questions like that. Either way. So they wanted to take Jane's longevity to protect it. Obviously that didn't mean anything because they got throttled. And Bunny Guy got. We don't know if anyone else. We know Kip's alive, banged up, but alive, but we don't know if anyone else is. But Jane's now kind of, dealing with the whole, now she's getting older thing. And it's oh, I've got this pain in my chest. What if I'm dying? It's it's just acid reflux. It's yeah, welcome to being middle-aged. And she wants to, fight back because it's right, everything's at stake here. But Cliff's nah, I want to take the time I have left to leave something for my child. I mean, he's yeah, you might think, oh, I'm all on top of this Parkinson thing. But, I've been staring death in the face for a while. And now it's just this is what I want to do. I don't want to spend that time fighting. Find what's important to you and do it. And obviously for Jane, it's always, she's always had this complicated relationship with Cliff where it's she obviously has the severely messed up dad situation that she has. Cliff has his own daughter issues, just with his own legitimate daughter and grandchild and everything. So they kind of have filled those voids for each other. But they were kind of surrogates to some extent, but now they've become just obviously family in their own regard. Not even just surrogates. They've just come to all love and cherish each other. So Cliff just got so caught up in what he was doing that he just didn't care about Jane, which Jane went to the underground and was yo, what are we going to do about this? And no one else is helping because Jane isn't the only one that got a puzzle from Kay. Every other personality got a puzzle too, and they're supposed to be working on it. And she's right, you guys want to sit there and take it? I'm not gonna just sit here and take it. I'm gonna go out fighting. But I guess for Jane, it's well, I'm also gonna take a little bit of Cliff's encouragement, and she actually goes off and sees Shelly, and she does what she wants to, but when the time comes that she wants to kiss Shelly, she can't do it, because it's your entire existence has been for the purpose of taking care of someone else, putting their needs before your own. So taking a time to really be let's focus on me, especially when it's coming to an end, and it's just I can't really do that because there's still that part of her that's I can't, I still can't, and that's heartbreaking. It's because you're always still going to be duty bound no matter what. There's just some part of you that also feels she doesn't deserve it either, because once again, it's yeah, Kay said this is also my body too, but there's so much conflict in Jane in that moment, and Shelly's trying to make her feel better. It's no, it's okay. She's you just don't know what I'm going through. No one does. It's Jane has a very unique circumstance of, she has an identity crisis to the nth degree, because it's an identity crisis. Yes, each of the Doom Patrol has their own identity crisis thing, but hers is a very unique situation, especially because like I was constructed for the purposes of protecting Kay, and now she's telling me to go live my life, and now to have this opportunity to live my life, now I'm also at the short end of the straw because my longevity's taken from me, and you know, I don't want to die before I had an opportunity to live. Especially because like it's not just me. Like my death means the death of not just me. It means the death of Kay and every other personality, which they're kind of taking it in stride. I'm sure for her it's like, why am I the only one stressing out about it? Why is everyone like, oh, let's go into that peaceful, quiet night? Just like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. We do what we're supposed to. Like, why is everyone just accepting it? Cliff accepted it until his mind kind of breaks and the oven mitt starts talking to him. And it's like, oh, I'm your grandson Rory. But the fact of the matter is, you know, you are a good person. Because for Cliff, it's like, I'm a bad, you know, because, hey, it's here I am. I'm doing exactly what my dad did. Whenever my dad didn't kind of want to deal with everything, he focused on something to kind of like, you know, a distraction to keep him away from focusing on all the other stuff. It's like, that's what this car is. Like, if you really wanted to see me, Rory, even though it's like, you're just a delusion of my diseased mind. It's like, if you really wanted to see me, you just go down to Florida immediately, but you're just making excuses. You're trying to dive into a project just like your dad. He's like, yeah, unlike my dad, though, I recognize I'm a bad person. But it's like, no, you're not. Look, you kept the zombie bottle alive, which I'm like, that was he's like, yeah, and it's probably not a good idea. I'm like, it really isn't, considering you already know the future says that a zombie blood apocalypse is how the world ends, you know? So it's like, not the smartest idea. To be fair, there's already another butt out there. Granted, it's not a zombie butt, it's a regular butt. So, are we ever going to circle back to like that situation? So, but it's like, right, you are a good person. Regardless of what this creature is and what it's supposed to do, you still want it to spare it regardless. You know, it's like, well, to be fair, he was going through some stuff at the time. He had just killed Darren and felt his squishy brains in the one hand that has like sensation. Well, I don't know if it's spread to the rest of the hand yet. It might have only been in the finger. But he did have this sweet moment later on when he's there with Jane where he's like, right, I'm sorry for what I did, because he's like, I didn't think about the fact of the matter is what you're supposed to do is be there for the people you love, saying like, yeah, I love you guys. So you guys are important to me. And I kind of like was so focused on my stuff that I forget, like, yeah, you got to be there for the people you care about. So he took off the oven mitt and put his hand out and like wrapped it around her. So I was like, that's really sweet. I love their situation. Because she was like, yeah, but what if I'm someone that doesn't deserve to be loved? And obviously for him, it's like, that's obviously, like, even if you think that, you can't stop someone from loving you, and none of us are ever going to stop loving you. I thought that was I really like the pseudo father-daughter thing that they have, but they always have, like, they almost got brother-sister energy, too. Like, they have, like, kind of, like, the whole gambit of familial energy between, I really like their dynamic a lot. I've always, like, liked it a lot. Like I said, they were kind of, like, substitutes for each other. Once again, the father that she didn't really have because her father was god-awful, and she was kind of like his second chance at kind of playing the father role to some extent, too, and kind of having, like, you know, having a pseudo-daughter. But now it's just like, no, we love and care about each other. Like I said, so it's like that, like some moments they have when they go, and they laugh and kind of dap each other. Like, those are like sibling moments that they have, but they also have like father-daughter moments too. Like, they're kind of everything, you know? So I think it's such a neat dynamic that they have. And at the same time, this is all going down. We caught up with Larry and was it Orquith? A dimension with Scissormen. And I love that it's like, I think Cliff later on calls them like Tim Burton rejects. I was like, oh yeah, because of Edward Scissorhands. I was kind of getting that vibe too. The place also kind of like, it reminded me of like a cross between Edward Scissorhands just because of the scissor people, but also like aesthetically, it reminded me of Sleepy Hollow. Was that also a Tim Burton movie? Yes, it was a Tim Burton movie. Tangents and all that aside. I mean, that's probably where it also kind of leans into not just the Edward Scissorhands stuff, but also the Sleepy Hollow thing. I mean, probably just like the Tim Burton aesthetic in general. But luckily, Rama showed up to save Larry from them, and he obviously filled him in about Immortus. And basically, Immortus found people who all have a wish that they desperately want accomplished. Like Immortus, if he rises, he'll be able to rewrite reality, which, I mean, we've already kind of dealt with reality warping stuff. I mean, he's like, well, Mr. Nobody, God, what was it? They referenced him in this episode. The Decreator, was that it? That thing. So I was like, yeah, we're done with the alternate reality, but it's like, hey, this is something you want, and each one of them has something they want. Like Rama wants to fix his molecule situation, but that's why he's helping Larry, because it's like, right, you said that you would help me find another way where I wouldn't have to kind of side with a very bad guy to make it happen. And Larry's got his back. It's like, right, we'll do this. Like, me and my friends, we're kind of used to dealing with this situation. So once we've taken care of Immortus, then we can help you figure out your molecule situation. But by the time they get to the Doom Man, which I love, Cliff being like, no, are we adopting another supervillain? He's like, no, I'm not a villain. And it's like, oh, and Cliff's like, ooh, the sexual tension? Am I no one sensing the sexual tension? And they're like, no. And Rama's like, well, we'll cross that bridge. And Larry's like, wait, there's a bridge? He's like, kind of like, I'm like, I was kind of getting those vibes too from them. But then Keeg pushed him back through the portal. I was like, wait, why'd you do that? I was like, that didn't make any sense. Why are you doing that, Keeg? Well, it turns out in the long run, Keeg, because of what Rama said, Rama was like, hey, you want to stay with Keeg forever. Even you have a wish that you want, right, Larry? But it turns out Larry's like, why are you doing this? Keeg learns what happened in the future during the zombie apocalypse, how Larry died. Larry's bandages were eaten through, and he was starting to, I guess maybe it's not just the bandages, but also his body was being bitten into. So probably like the more damaged his body is, like the bandages wrap in all his radiation, but probably the moment you break through that, and probably even when you tear into his skin, it probably spreads the radiation even more. So like, I'm going to be a walking nuclear reactor probably. And so it's like, right, I need to get out of here. So Keeg took him to the sun and ended up killing him, just to save the world. And he's like, right, that's what this is all about. Like, we've been through so much, but it's like, but that's also the thing, isn't it? Like, there's always going to be another battle. There's always going to be another bad guy that might create a situation where you might have to take me off to the sun just so I'll die and not kill everyone else to save the world. And just to prevent that, it's like, right, if we give rise to Immortus, then we can be together forever. It's like, that's what this is about. Keeg's trying to, so like Future Keeg had probably all those years to like really like think about what they wanted, and now we have this opportunity and wanted to let his younger self know, like, hey, I need you to do this, like let you know about the future so that maybe you can change something. Now that you do know about the future, there was always going to be another situation that would rise that would lead to Larry potentially dying. So Larry gives up his longevity, which are like, cool, 3 out of 4 down. So there's that. Then there's also Vic, now that he's back from being a baby, and it's like, yeah, that's, youth magic ain't something me and the squad is used to, despite all the crazy things him and the Doom Patrol have been caught up in. But it's like, yeah, so they get involved with everything because they get back into the manor just in time to see the portal to Orthwith, and Derek goes along because it's like, yeah, despite him having superhero experience, at this point in time, Vic isn't Cyborg anymore. He's just Vic, and it's like, right, you're protecting people, but you're not a superhero anymore, so who's going to have your back? Which I love that he took a knife, and all concerned is, no, you took the one good knife, and now, I'm like, why do you only have one good knife? What's the point of keeping the other knives? I mean, I guess they do suitable jobs in case the good knife is dirty or lost, but I'm like, what's the point of keeping the other knives in if that's the only good knife? But I do like that they had the heart-to-hearts before, but I feel like they really opened up in this particular episode where, obviously for Vic, it's like, you've got a whole life to go back to, and I don't know if I'll be able to protect you. He's like, yeah, but who's going to have your back if you're in here alone? Like, yeah, you think just because you went AWOL a few years is going to change anything? I've got your back no matter what, bro. The fact is, he's like, I know the reason why you came back to me, why you did that was because you want to turn back time, but they can't. But that's what it was. It's because Vic was so caught up in his own situation, he never bothered to meet Derek and the others halfway. Just like, yeah, he was kind of going through what he was going through, and it never, he never took that step to kind of reach out. And if he did, maybe things could be different, but, there's no change in the past necessarily. And so being able to get that opportunity, being young again, made him go like, you know what, I have an opportunity now to kind of make up for the history we lost. I mean, granted, it still is an awkward situation of, yeah, he's like, less than 12 hours ago, I was changing your diaper. He's like, can you please never mention that again? It's like, oh, everyone went through that awkward baby phase again. Oh, that's interesting. But I thought it was pretty dope. The moment they kind of had, and I think it led to healing some, it already started the healing between them, but I think this is where the healing escalated even more and just brought them even closer. It is kind of a bummer. I mean, I think this world is so interesting how it's like, hey, it's made of pencils and pen and paper because you're meant to draw stuff and bring it to life. And they did it for Mr. Invincible. And it's like, yeah, but before he could even do anything, he got turned back into paper. I was like, that sucks. We were getting all hyped up about, yeah, Mr. Invincible's here. He's about to do his thing. They're so proud because they were able to bring Mr. Invincible to life, and boom, he didn't even get to do anything. That kind of sucks in the long run. I was legitimately hyped up, yo, we got to see Mr. Invincible, but I thought I felt like something was going to go wrong. I didn't expect the whole just turn back into paper because we're done, because that all fell apart. So that really sucks. And then at the same time this is all going down, Rita and Rouge are handling. They're planning on going to the bureau because it's like, well, they'll probably have information about this Immortus project because it's connected to Niles, and that's the best place to get the information. So they're gonna have to break back into that place that neither one of them has been in for a very, very long time. It's like, obviously they do not have the fondest memories of the place, but they kind of have no choice. Plus, it's like, cool. Rouge is like, I was chosen to be leader. Specifically for one mission, a very shite mission at best, but hey, you're the leader, you take charge again, this is your operation, you always kind of were the leader, so you gotta take charge. They snuck into the bureau, and end up finding out the main person behind this is Wally, which is the past rearing. Obviously, it means a lot for Rita, but also means a lot for Rouge, because it's like, yeah, my mistakes are the reason why everything went down. It's like, yeah, if, Malcolm and now this, I'm literally the reason why this Immortus thing is going down. And I'm guessing that's who we saw, episode 4 of this season, during the KC Patrol episode. I guess that was who we saw was Wally, because I was like, who this guy's supposed to be? And he's drawing all this stuff that's coming in. It's like, because I was trying to remember, it's like, oh, it wasn't until now, and then the drawings and stuff like that, I was like, oh, was that Wally's power? Because I completely did not remember Wally at all. So, and that's where the ending kind of confused me, because there's the Wally that they met, and then there's the Wally at the very, very end of the episode. I was like, wait, so was the one in the cell the real Wally, and was the one they meet at the end of the episode in Orquith, is that a Wally he drew, one that's powerful and is going to get what they want? The one that's in the bureau is the one that's kind of beaten down and kind of lost any spark. Obviously, Rouge wanted to get him out of there because it's I need to do something. I've already abandoned him once. I left him in this place. I did so much weaponizing so many powered metahumans that it's I need to at least make things right to some extent. I can't change the past, but I can at least get him out of here. But obviously for Rita, it was just too much, and especially because she saw the pictures of Malcolm, and it became too much, and she ended up kind of blobbing out and she calls it just smashing him. I'm like, it feels like you just straight up ate him. But then you had that thing when it was all said and done, there was the ink, the papers that were sticking to her back, and I was like, oh, so maybe that Wally maybe the real Wally is the one in Orquith, and that one was just a drawing the entire time. Maybe that's what that's supposed to mean. Maybe I don't know. That ending just kind of confused me with the two different Wallys. So either way, it was supposed to be like let's showdown, let's take this on, but it's like, nope, everyone's captured at the end. Larry just lost his immortality. Derek and Vic got caught, so did Cliff and Jane. Only ones still out there are Rita and Rouge. So what happens now? We'll ultimately have to wait to see what happens when Doom Patrol returns. I don't believe there's an official date for when that's coming back. Yeah, there's no official dates for the second half of the season, just sometime this year. Same thing for Titans, I believe. For what I'm looking up really quickly, it seems like that's going to be the case. But either way, I'm very, very fascinated to see ultimately where the second half of the season ends up taking us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.